Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Light of Insight. I'm your host, Nina, and today we have a returnee guest, someone that I love deeply, someone who I am also going to be facilitating a retreat with the end of this month on April 27th, and we'll get into all of those juicy details in this conversation. But I would love to introduce and welcome back Kristy, who is a mindset and career coach who is based in California and also a program director for a social impact nonprofit organization. So, welcome back, Kristy, to the Light of Insight.
So happy to be back. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, I'm so excited for this conversation. And the first question I want to kick off with is, what is lighting you up right now?
This conversation. Right now, what's lighting me up the most is really actually this co-creation of the retreat that I think we'll have a chance to talk about. But ever since Nina brought me together with Reiko, so the three of us are organizing a retreat, ever since that first call, that energy that we had in the beginning has been really a source of a lot of light and just like just source of like motivation to really continue to do the things that I love to do in my coaching. And like since that call, there have been some new clients that have been joining my space, and it's just been a really natural like flow of abundance. And so that's really actually lighting me up currently. Yeah.
I love that so much. I feel the same after that call. I was like, this is going to be a really, really special dynamic that we all have together, and also a really powerful retreat we're going to be making. With all of us having different backgrounds, different coaching specialties, and also just, yeah, we're pouring our hearts into this. So I feel the exact same way. I do want to ask because it's been over a year since I had you on the Light of Insight, and I think it's going to help my listeners to kind of understand um, where you're at right now in your life, if there's any recent realizations, anything that you want to share specifically that's been coming up for you. I know I would love to hear, and my listeners as well.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, in just a year, I would say the biggest transition that I've felt has been something along the lines of busy. And busy in the sense of I'm like not in my physical like comfort of home often. This past year has been a lot of movement, like physically, and then also like in my head too, just going through a lot of different, I don't know if you'd say personas, but just needing to be a certain type of way with people in different capacities. I think this past year has been a lot of shifting, um and what as a result of that, like I think I've lost centering myself along the way. So to context that, basically, like I had the chance and opportunity to go to Japan for like 3 weeks at a time for recruitment trips for work. I had a chance to go to Thailand for 10 days. And sandwiched in between all that, there were three programs actually, where I spent 2 to 3 weeks in San Francisco. And so this turned into like every month except 2 months this past year, I haven't been home. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been, again, so I use the word busy, but it's just like, I think it's unrooted is another word that I would use.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just coming, turning around number of 30 this year, entering a new decade, it's brought so much more light and focus on just like, who am I? Why am I doing the things that I choose to do? And what do I do about things when maybe there's misalignment? knowing myself a lot better these past couple years and understanding like what my needs are, wanting to be home, have a routine with working out, eating healthy. Like, what do I do to reclaim that while
Mm,
maintaining a full-time hybrid job and coaching clients who I care about deeply and want to serve to my fullest capacity? While also, reminding myself that like self-centering is really important, and I feel like I haven't made time as much as I have in the past to focus on my own inner work journey. And as a coach,
mm, mhm.
it's really important.
Yeah.
So getting off center from that has made me feel a bit busy and unrooted this past year. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I'm sure so many people can resonate. I resonate deeply with that as well. I think unrooted is a really great way to describe this sense that you're experiencing. And I really do want to pinpoint this sense of unrootedness and not feeling quite centered, because I think we can thread this into our conversation
Mm,
more with the retreat and all of that. But I do want to also ask, is there any, like, in all of this busyness and all of this
yeah.
chaos, if there is there any learnings that you want to share? I'd love to hear.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I've come to learn about myself is that I it's okay to ask for what I need. And as simple as that seems, I noticed through conversations with myself and with other coaches or therapists, I've come to realize that um, although it might seem easy for some people to, just say, "Hey, I need you to do this," or "This is what I need," just to voice a concern or a need. For me, actually, I learned um, can be a little bit difficult, but uh, in all of that, just understanding that it's okay to ask has been this like overarching um, realization that has led to a lot of other doors opening, a lot of conversations starting,
Mm,
um, and just inviting more of what feels aligned and authentic to me when I do put out what my needs are. And maybe it's not like a I never knew this before realization, but I do like coming back to like getting unrooted and decentered. It's like unless you consistently do things, I think it's really easy to just not do them anymore. Like routines and creating the safe space and maintaining a safe space to ask for your needs and to be vocal about what it is that you're wanting more of with people that you care about, whether that's family or relationships. Um, yeah, I don't know. I realized that it's like not a one and done, like, oh, I learned how to do this, so now I'm good. It's for me, at least in my experience, it's just been um, it's about consistency and like holding yourself accountable to being in that, resourced version of yourself and understanding what brings you back to that centered version and just being gentle about like pulling yourself back into alignment. Yeah.
beautiful. I'd love to ground this a little bit further. Can you give us an example with a recent experience where you did ask for your needs, ask for what you needed in a relationship, or I don't know. I think it would really help if we can hear some kind of example from you.
Yeah. I'm gonna use work actually as an example. So I mentioned I went to Thailand for about 10 days, and it's a beautiful country. And for me, I was a little bit nervous about going on this trip. It was my first time to Southeast Asia, and my passport had like less than 6 months. There were a lot of things that were leading up to this trip that I was like really nervous about, and I didn't have all the answers for. And so along the way, you know, I finally made it to Thailand, and it was for work, so I wasn't traveling and sightseeing. It was, you know, doing a lot of almost like humanitarian facing like work, capacity building, speaking to organizations that we work with for the nonprofit, and like migrant education and education equivalency, all of these things that I was like really quite new to, even though I'm supporting people in a fellowship role through our organization. And this trip actually had a really big took a big toll on my health, and it was hard for me to not so much in the mental capacity space, but physically. The air quality during that time of year in the winter was a little bit rougher for me, and I didn't know that I was going to have that type of reaction. So coming back to the States, coming back to your question about like a time where I asked for my needs, like I I didn't hesitate necessarily to tell my boss, but I was worried about how it would come off if I did tell him like I can't. It's not that I can't, it's just like I had a really difficult time just telling my boss I had a difficult time physically, health-wise, going to Thailand. Felt almost, I'm not sure if it's because I felt like maybe I was weak, like, why is nobody else affected by this? But just putting out my needs, even at work, saying, "Hey, I can't actually go to this post right now, or, like, in the future," because I know it's, like, a yearly thing, and just letting my boss know that, like, it's not I don't have the capacity to go there on a physical
Mm.
health level, um, was a one example of how I actually had to, like, ask for what I needed, and that was actually to not be a part of that trip next year.
Mm.
Um, and or they were considering moving it somewhere else, but um, that that was a little scary for me just to say that because I wasn't sure like what the implications would be. Like, would I have to change projects if I can't go out for this one
Mm.
in that location? And so asking for needs, even at the work in the workplace, can be a little bit scary for some folks, or at least for myself.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that my boss is really understanding, and he's just very supportive. And so it was an easy conversation, but just getting there was a little scary.
Totally. I'm reflecting on all the times that it's been really hard for me to vocalize what my needs are in a relationship or even at work. What do you personally think it is for yourself that makes it really hard to just honestly say, this is what I want, this is what I can't do? I'm interested with what you think is, yeah, difficult about that for you.
Mm, not so. One thing that comes up is like not knowing what the response will be
Mm.
brings
Mhm.
a little bit of anxiety. Um, Also, some fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Um, and I sense that some of this comes from um, whether it's a generational thing or if it's like a parent-child thing, but it's just like this this different perspective that happens where um, what to one person might not be difficult, like another person might experience it in a very different way. And so
Mm.
I worry that when I communicate my needs, it will be misinterpreted and or kind of like neglected
Mm.
because the person doesn't have the same experience with that, whether it's a country or like with a person or a situation. If I know or I don't know that the person has had that same experience before, I worry that they will neglect my my own experience because that's happened a
Mm.
lot, I think, in my life. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah.
Absolutely. I resonate deeply. I have a fear of judgment, definitely, and just diminishing my experience because,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that just really, and in my body right now, I feel it in my core. So I know it's
Yeah.
a deep wound, like when I somatically feel it. inside of me, it really is this fear of, will you still love and accept me
Mm.
if I tell
それだ
you?
ね。Yeah.
Sore. And I'm like, eh, and of course, then it's in your mind, you're like, okay, I don't even want to have this
うん。
conversation then if it comes down to something terrifying
うん。
with like that. This person still going to accept me for who I
Yeah.
am, all that I am? And yeah, it's a big step, but it's just so powerful and beautiful to hear you say that you've been stepping more into this power of yours and understanding that no, that's you're kind of self-abandoning your own self if you're not
Mhm.
properly stating what you want and what you need.
Mhm.
And I really think this is something that many women can relate to specifically because we are literally trained to not be too much, and we're not trained to or conditioned to really use our voices, especially when it might seem a little bit difficult. Like we don't
Mm.
want to be difficult people. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely is something I can relate with, and a lot of people, a lot of women in my life that can relate with too. So, I do want to go into retreat talk because everything that we're talking about right now in this conversation, I think it really connects with this retreat that we're going to be leading in the next couple of weeks. And
Mhm.
just a little bit more information, this retreat name is called Reflect, Reconnect, and Rise. And it is an integrative healing retreat for women in Japan. The location is in Kugenuma, which is the Shonan area. And that's also where Reiko lives. So we are going to be in good hands because Reiko lives there. We're going to know the place really nicely. Um, and just with this conversation of being able to speak your needs, being able to recenter and understand how you could kind of come back to that deeper connection within, deeper connection with others. I want to ask you, why do you think this is an important time to participate in something like this retreat that we'll be hosting?
Yeah. I think this retreat, with even with the timing of spring and April, kind of just like this feeling of starting anew in Japan, cycles restarting, whether that's school or work. And I know I'm based in California, but I think part of my heart definitely still feels a little bit of that seasonal transition that goes on in Japan, even though I'm not physically there. And so, speaking of like patterns and just transitions and change, um, I think this retreat really serves as a grounding mechanism and like a place where even amidst a lot of transition and change, or maybe it's a lot, maybe it feels very chaotic, or maybe there's anticipation that there's going to be a lot of movement in the upcoming year. This retreat will be a really good source of community grounding with
Mm.
like-minded women who recognize or at least are seeking deeper connection with self, and also recognize that it can be really helpful to navigate connecting with self can be really helpful to navigating things that come up in life that are unexpected in relation to change and transitions. And so, um, a couple things that people will be able to experience at this retreat are a bit of mindset work around how to unpattern negative thoughts and stories that we've either grown up with from childhood and or adapted as we got older. And those tend to be stories that either our parents could potentially be none of our family stories, and it's just been something that's passed down, um, and become a story in our head, and or it is something that we did experience personally. And just uncoupling, unpatterning some of these core thoughts and stories can be a really good starting point for learning how to gracefully navigate, like in a more of a safe way, navigating change through self-forgiveness and understanding of these patterns. And another reason why I think this is a really good retreat to join if you're going through transition and change. I talked a lot about like self-centering. For me, myself, and I, this retreat is going to be really powerful, even from the facilitator's point of view, because having such a busy and chaotic schedule last year, what I have recently felt was just this really strong inner child, like younger Kristy is coming up a lot in conversations in my relationship that I was nurturing over the past year, and even in like family relationships too. And for the first time in my life, and maybe others can relate to this too, for the first time in my life, I didn't get upset with her. And I was just kind of like, oh, I hear you and I see you. And it's okay to feel this way. And I've never in like my life really felt that it was okay to speak to myself that way. Getting emotional. But like
I am
so
too. I'm getting
um
emotional too.
so for folks who are thinking about a retreat and not really knowing all the full details, I can just say that like from where I'm at personally in my life, along with the other coaches who are supporting this space, we're just going to invite a lot of deep self-connection, and in doing that it creates this like really beautiful energy where we almost get to retreat as our younger selves and play together and just really be unapologetically ourselves without judgment and fear. And I think that's a space that I definitely want to experience myself and also invite others to step into, even for a moment. Like, even if it's just like 1 hour of the retreat where you get to really just be yourself and just remember what that feels like, so that after the retreat, deep down, like what it feels like to be centered in yourself. And I think that's like one of the best reasons to come.
100%. Beautifully said, and thank you so much for sharing. I got emotional because I feel the same way with regards to meeting my younger self where she is, and I fully accepted her. And when you fully accept her, life just gets so beautiful. Like it's kind of a hard thing to explain in words. It's more of a feeling for me. However, this year I've gone on a deeper connection journey with my younger Nina and loving her, accepting her. It's transformed not just how I feel within, but certain relationships that I have as well.
Mm-hmm.
And when you accept yourself further and connect with your younger self, you accept others for who they are more too. And that's just been the biggest gift through this work. And I am just so excited to be able to create this type of space for women to experience this, because it just really is powerful, deeply powerful, and fun too.
Mm-hmm.
It healing, it sounds a little bit maybe daunting at times and scary, and it can be for sure, but it can also be really fun and playful, and
Mm-hmm.
especially in a community that is intentionally there to support you
Mm-hmm.
and passionately meet you where you are.
Yeah.
I just I get chills thinking about it, and I'm just really, really excited. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. I really resonate. I
Yeah.
also want to ask you, like we're kind of planting the seeds and saying who this might be a good retreat for, but maybe just to emphasize, who do you think is going to be a good match for this event that's going to be coming up?
Yeah. Just going back to our key phrases of like reflect, reconnect, and
Yeah.
rise. I think no matter where you are on this journey of like self-discovery, self-empowerment, or just being comfortable in your own skin, um, we're all maybe on different pathways to how we're wanting to involve, understanding our past or reflecting on stories. And reconnection may not look like, working and talking directly with your inner child. Maybe it's just reconnecting to what you love to do, something that brings you joy. Um, and I guess I want to preface that, like, in the coaching space, I think certain words might give off different images, but truly, when I think of reflect, reconnect, and rise, we're inviting people who want to reflect on and really just sit in like everything that has been their life. So whether that's the past year, the past month, the past week, kind of presencing and just being just really in your own life rather than thinking about and worrying about other people, other commitments, other responsibilities that we have, maybe for work or for, certain relationships. Just reflect on oneself, I think is a huge entry point into joining a retreat like this. If that's any part of what you're wanting, you'll definitely get a lot of that at the retreat. When it comes to reconnecting, I talk about reconnecting in the sense of um, just being in like communication with my inner self, my younger self. Like younger Kristy really just needs a supportive voice and friend. And because she's come out so often recently, um, I see it as like younger Kristy, but at the same time, what this looks like outside of the coaching sphere is like there might be resentment or emotions like anger or being upset at things that maybe you weren't really expecting to upset you. And so reconnecting with even just our emotions and behaviors and just noticing where they're coming from, I think is a form of reconnecting to self, just so that it doesn't feel like you're two different people at one time. So reconnecting is really just like bringing a lot of different emotions and feelings under the same umbrella, because we're allowed to feel different things at different times and also multiple things at the same time. And I think that's a part of reconnecting is when we feel dispersed, like our energy and our emotions are dispersed, like reconnecting is a good point of motivation to join this retreat. And like rise, like bringing it all together. If you're feeling like maybe there's something weighing you down or you're feeling stuck, the part about rise that's really remarkable is that when you're in the space with a bunch of people, even if you don't know who the people are, just being in an energy that is elevated from kind of the everyday version of you. So being reflective and reconnected to what brings you joy and happiness, and just having that at top of mind and being really conscious about it allows you to see the possibilities of life rather than kind of the negatives or the, oh, what might happen if question mark. So rising into just the most kind of like resource version of yourself, rising into who you maybe have imagined you might be resembling in the future, but realizing that like you are that person right now. Like you don't need to do anything to feel a certain way. You don't need to do anything to prove to anyone that you're a certain type of person, whether that's like job or in a relationship, status wise. And so if you're feeling stuck or sort of ungrounded and are really wanting to tap back into that feeling of like I can really I can do this. Like I'm ready, I'm motivated. Just reclaiming that energy.
Yes.
That's another reason I think that this retreat can really serve people in like a full circle way. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, reflect, reconnect, and rise. It's going to be so amazing. I'm going to be posting more information in the show notes so you all can get a better understanding of the details of the event, the where, what time, date, all of that. And we are closing registrations April 19th. So that is in about less than a week from today. So if you have any questions at all, or if you just want to share some of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, whatever you would like, and you can reach out to Kristy, me, or Reiko. I'll put all of our contact information in the show notes. I'm so excited. Kristy, is there any other important notes that you would like to share about this retreat? There's been so much beautiful, beautiful shares that we've been discussing in this conversation, but anything else that's like a last note to touch on?
Just really, I think one question that I would pose is, what do you see to be the key to just feeling abundant in your life and just putting yourself like what is it gonna take to really bring out the version of yourself that you want to be best friends with, like, and if you're in a position where you're questioning that and getting curious of like who you want to be with when it comes to yourself, because I know like a lot of times I talk to folks in like career changes or even like relational changes and transitions where we're really outsourcing a lot of our desires and happiness and wanting to connect with people who are also enjoying and up leveling their lives, or just like, this person looks so happy, or there's a lot of outsourcing. And I think that just a really important inquiry is just how do you insource and attract and be the person that lights you up rather than needing or kind of requiring that from an external source. And so getting curious about that, I think, might be interesting if you're considering this retreat, since there will be community. It'll be a beautiful, beautiful sense of community. But at the same time, it's a huge invitation to to be with yourself and to really get, comfortable in your own skin, and doing that with a lot of other people who are in that same headspace, whether that's for career or relationships or with family or even just with self, just wanting to do some more inner work at any stage of it. I think it's just like such a privilege to know that you can give yourself permission to do something like go on a retreat and like retreat into your kind of heart space and just be with yourself and play with the younger version of yourself so that she can be seen more by the people that she loves in her life. So I hope that it kind of like will prompt some folks to think about the retreat.
I love that, Kristy. Retreat into your heart space. Oh my God, I love that. Oh, I love you so much, Kristy. Thank you for your beautiful presence, your energy. Yeah, you're so incredible. Oh my gosh, I knew I would get emotional again during the conversation. I feel it. Where can listeners further connect with you?
I am available on Instagram at The handle is Kristy Mariko, and or LinkedIn. I do have my profile there, Kristy Ishii, and yeah, those are two of the best ways to contact me.
I'll put that into the show notes as well. And thank you so much again for sharing and updating us on your life. And I'm so excited to be facilitating this with you. It's going to be incredibly special. And I'm so excited to have you back in Japan soon,
I
too.
know. I'm leaving in 2 days. I'm very excited. Yeah, it's very soon.
Oh my gosh. You really are traveling so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I'm so grateful too for you to host, space always for people like myself, just to share. And I love having these conversations, and I am so excited to have more of these over, the next couple weeks leading up to the retreat, and also at the retreat and then after. It just brings so much joy to my life, and I just really appreciate you. So thank you for being all of who you are always, and little Nina as well. She's very loved. Yeah.
I feel so loved. I feel so loved. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone who tuned in on this conversation today. We will see you again on another episode of The Light of Insight. Have a beautiful day. Bye.